the deep recesses of one's mind, there is a voice, a guiding light through the darkness, a connection to the other side.
You're ready to wake up, you're going to wake up. And if you're not ready, you're going to stay pretending that you're just a poor little me.
Pathway to spiritual that echoes with enlightenment. The voice of spirit. The voice of spirit.
You are a function of this total galaxy, bounded by the Milky Way, and that furthermore, this galaxy is a function of all other galaxies.
Your journey starts here and now. With your host and connection to spirit, Leo Bonomo.
Hi, a very, very warm welcome wherever you happen to be listening. So whether it's morning, afternoon, evening or night. I'm very pleased to have as a guest on tonight's show Barrie John. He's very familiar on Facebook and Twitter. He's one of UK's leading psychic mediums and a familiar face for his appearances on TVs This Morning, Channel 5, Live, legendary Most Haunted, amongst others. And is very well known within the mediumship and paranormal arena. He became aware of his abilities, as most great mediums do, as a young child, and he was always aware that there were family and friends that would live on in another place. And he also often listened to other members of the family talk about their paranormal experiences. So this is a gentleman that has grown up with spirit and has a very strong connection with spirit. He also reads tarot cards, and he did start that as a teenager. So some of the shows he has been on, again, is Most Haunted. He's appeared with Colin Fry, ITV's This Morning programme. Leslie Smith also connected with Most Haunted. Richard Felix of the Derby Jowl, and if you know anything about Derby Jowl, you'll know that it's got quite a reputation. He's also connected with BBC Radio Norfolk, Rob Dunga and Nick Pandolfi. Sue Marchant of BBC Radio Cambridge. There are lots and lots of others. So without further ado, hi Barrie, how are you?
I'm very good, Leo. Thank you very much for having me on the show, and thanks for a great introduction. That was really good of you.
Oh, well, bless you. No problem at all. It's something we like to do because we do like to showcase the people that are here and talking about their experiences and, giving the odd reading here and there. So if anyone does want to call in, it's 702-425-9230. Barrie will be doing short readings for you, just a question, maybe two, tonight. And as usual, we'll be talking about his experiences of spirit and some of the things that he's been involved with. So thank you so much for coming on the show. It's a real privilege.
Thank you. No, I really appreciate it. And it's an honour to be able to join you. And I'm quite, some of the things what you mentioned there, I actually forget some of the stuff that I've done over the years because, my sort of TV career probably started, I don't know, probably about 2003-04. And it just covers such a mammoth sort of task of stations, really, and of media connections, and a lot of it I do forget about, to tell you the truth. And there's obviously a lot of things that, you've not mentioned there, such as like my involvement with the police, my involvement with the Moors murders cases, for instance, with Sky. So, I get around, put it that way, Leo, and I like to be well known. Let's say that.
Well, that's always good, and I think we're all put on this earth for specific tasks and things to do, and I can't think of anything more humbling. Or in a sense more prestigious from spirit point of view of being able to spread the word of spirit, especially those that like yourself that don't have ego, because it does vary an awful lot, and
yes,
and it's a shame. So it's wonderful to have you talk about those things.
It is, and it's great, and I think one of the problems with the spiritual market is people think that it's I'll put it very simply, very lovey and caring. And like you say, there's a lot of egotistical people. There's a lot of people that are jealous of what people have achieved and achieving. And I've got to just say with me, I always class myself as probably just being in the right place at the right time with a lot of it, when people were looking or I had connections, and things just seem to happen one after another, and it's good for me, when I look back, because even for me, I'm very humbled by when people comment to me or make comments about shows that I've been on. I remember, when would it be? Probably about 2010, I did a program called Haunted Leeds, which was obviously going around Leeds and looking at some of the haunted venues, and it was phenomenal, really. But as I say, the things that you forget over time because you've done so much, things really do start falling by the wayside. And on my desk at home, I've got a nice little collection of sort of CDs and DVDs, what I've appeared in or I've been on or I've done a radio interview. And the nice thing for us is that BBC Radio Nottingham fully supports us, my local radio station supporters, and obviously that produces links further in the field wherever we go, which is nice for us because, having that sort of media support and media attention helps us, to promote things and also to promote what we do in, whether that be a charity event or whether it be, an event for a specific purpose. And that's the one thing that I've always enjoyed doing is developing the charity support side that we have, This year we've got a couple of events coming up. One next week, actually, which is for eye cancer support, which don't ask me the proper name of it because it's too complicated for me to announce. And then in a few months' time, we've got one for breast cancer coming up as well. So, we support quite a few charities. And the difficult thing is, we can't support everyone. But there are certain charities that I'll always support. I've supported Dogs Trust for many years. I support like missing people charities. Anything that I really can support, I will do. And people remember on our old website, we had a huge page of all these charities, what we'd done events for, which we've not put on the new one, I'm afraid, because there's just too many of them, really. And that's no disrespect to any of the charities. But, it's part of the support what I want to give back, and I think for me, one thing I always want to be known as is giving something back to society or to community. And that ties me in with a lot of other things that we'll probably mention on the show in a bit as well. But, by all means, if anybody wants to ask me any questions, even just about, mediumship, about my involvement in what I've done, get in touch with us, on the show, because I'm more than happy to help people out and give you advice if I can.
Absolutely. And while we're on that, what's your URL for your
our website? If you look on our website, it's www.barriejohn.com, and obviously Barry spelt with an IE. You can get us on Facebook, which is obviously Barrie John. Follow us on our sort of, I always call it the fan page, but like the group page. You can get us on Instagram. We're on Twitter. We're all over the place from a media perspective, and we always try and promote as many events as we can, not only of ours, but of anybody else that we're connected to as well, and you'll see this when you go on our page that you'll think, oh, why is that on there? Well, actually, it's my way of supporting other groups or other mediums and healers, etc.
Because I know that lots of people, I do try and dissuade people, because as you say, people think that it's all fluffy and light, and spiritualism unfortunately really isn't like that. And one thing we get thrown in our faces a lot, by skeptics is money and this and that. But it's nice that you're involved with so many charities, because I don't think people realise how much charity work or free work we do.
It's a really, really good point. And just jumping back to what you first mentioned there about the money side of it, I've spent fortunes on my my career path, on educating myself, on going to courses, on going to very good courses all around the world, and also supporting groups around the world. I've had the pleasure of working in the Middle East. I've had the pleasure of working in South America, in America, in Europe, all over Europe, and and even places like the Isle of Man and Islands, you know, and I will go wherever the need is for me, if that makes sense, you know, and I want that to come across very sort of supportive to people, you know. Wherever I go, you know, we have people coming along and wanting to meet us, you know, wanting to do an event, and, you know, I'll always try and get everybody in, but it's not always easy, you know. And one of the things I like to offer, one of the things I like to offer online is that support service to not only people, but to other mediums, you know. Interesting, you know, literally about an hour ago, I had a contact that I know very well who's been sending me little messages going, you know, I'm not sure about this. What's your thoughts? What can we do here? And, you know, I'll always give them my opinion, my view. But, you know, again, you know, as we say, you know, it's a difficult area to work in because, you know, people will say, oh, we're just aiming it at the vulnerable. You know, we're going after people that are grieving, who need an element of support. You know, but my view is that, you know, people have a choice whether they come and see me and you know, and I think providing us as mediums know where to, I would say, draw the line a little bit. So I think there's a very fine line between mediumship and counselling with people.
Yes.
And I think, you know, and we have to know when to do that. We have to know when to say, actually, either I can't help somebody or we need to refer them to somewhere else if we can. You know, but it's not an easy market. It really isn't, because you're in the firing line, you're aimed at, people accuse you of being a con man, you know, you're robbing people, you're taking the money, you're constantly, you know, almost a bit like probably a modern day sort of Dick Turpin in a way, I suppose people think of us. And you know, certainly I never, ever, ever want to think of myself like that. And what people don't see is the amount of background time we spend, you know, and certainly I know I spend in talking to people on the telephone, you know, having a general chat with them. You know, I support a cancer hospice locally. I support LGBT locally. I support Terence Higgins Trust nationwide, and I mentor people nationwide for them. So, you know, I'm involved in so much behind the scenes that is all voluntary work. You know, I don't take a penny from it, and I don't get anything from it, if that makes sense. You know, I do it because I want to help and support. And I think, you know, we need to remember that, because I think part of being a mediumship or a medium is being able to give back as well, you know. And I never want people to come here and go away and feel more upset or feel more, you know, down in the dumps than what they did before they walked in. If anything, I want it to work the opposite way for them.
Absolutely.
You
know, we should leave them uplifted. And again, I think it's something that a lot of people don't understand. Going back to your point of training, of workshops, all the time we spend traveling from one place to another. You know, I spent 8 years training at the SAGB, and apart from Christmas and the holiday, that was it. And that was traveling into London, paying. People don't take all those things into account, books, as you say, courses and different things. So it's very much giving. And as Arthur Findlay was very fond of saying, you know, it's service, isn't it? Service to others.
Yes, it is. It is. And, you know, that's the thing that we always need to remember, you know, that this is a service what we're providing to others, you know. And I always, whenever I talk to people, I always say, you know, you wouldn't expect a plumber to come in your house and mend your washing machine and turn around and say, I'm not paying you.
I've used that argument myself.
You know, and this is still a service what we provide, and we want to provide to people, you know. And I know that's not easy. I know it's difficult. I know that you and I will get calls from people that are in need or that really need some support of some kind. But, you know, we can't change people's lives. We can't help everybody. We can't, you know, we can't solve every problem. And sometimes people will come to me and go, I want you to change my life. And I'll say, well, you've come to the wrong person, because I can't change your life. Only you can. All I can do is either put you on the right path or give you an element of direction to where I feel as though you need to be.
Yeah, absolutely. And there is certainly, I think, a portion of people that come for private readings that do expect that, you know. I was in contact with someone many years ago, and their basic premise is, why aren't my guides working for me? Why aren't they changing this? Why are they not doing that? How am I in so deep, And to get them to realise that it's them that needs to change. Our guides can't change our life for us. They're there for us when we fall, but they can't change it because, I think if we had that option, everybody in the world would want what they'd want against other people's interests. It'd be chaos, wouldn't it?
Do you know, I mean, that's a really, really good point, because people, for me, they get too hung up on guides. They get too hung up on, they'll come to my courses and go, I want to know who my guide is. Well, why? What difference is it going to make? Because ultimately, I know who mine are. I know I have three now, three of them very predominantly, but do I worry about them? No, I don't. Do I tell them off? Yes, I do actually at times, and I go, thanks very much for putting me in that position, or thanks very much for letting that contact come through that was making it hard for me to communicate.
Yeah.
But, my comment to people is, do not worry who your guides are, what they look like, what they do for you, because the job of the guide for me, and this is why I always look at my guides, is they are literally like a doorkeeper or a gatekeeper. They stand up there and they allow people to come through as and when you either want them to, or, they slow them down, or they'll change them, or if they're struggling with a communicator, you can go, right, guys, come on, then intervene, give me some more information. And that's all I use them for, and I don't want that to sound derogatory to them, certainly not. I know they're there, and there's times when I sit there and I scream and shout at them and go, right, why is this happening then? And sometimes they'll just stand there and smile as if to say, you'll find out one day, But I do honestly believe, Leo, that everything that we go through in life is an element of a lesson. And it's not only the lesson. It's not only the lesson, it's what we learn from it, enabling that information to be passed on to others. And that's what we have to remember, is everything we go through, it teaches us something. It hurts us. It teaches us something. But what it teaches us is that when we get a client or a customer or whatever you wish to call them come to us, we actually can go, we understand that. We know how it feels. We know what you mean by that. And my liking of that would be, how could a medium talk to somebody about losing somebody when they've never lost anybody close? Because
absolutely,
we all grieve differently, and people grieve at different, paces of life, different times of life, and everybody tries to, I suppose, wouldn't it simply put on a brave face a little bit? You try and grin and bear it, and you go, tomorrow's going to be a better day. I'll just grin and bear it. But I'm a big believer that people have to grieve, they have to let go, they have to generate that emotion, because if they don't, sooner or later, it seems to emerge again. Let's say that.
Yeah, and it can emerge when we suppress things like that. It can emerge certainly as illness. And there's a thing about guides, isn't there, where people think that their guides are all-knowing, omnipresent, and one thing I learned a long time ago is that our guides are actually very similar to us. And the reason that they are quite similar to us is we all have our faults. None of us are perfect. That's why we're here. And if we have got a weakness in a particular direction or whatever, our guides have also had that inner life as well. So they understand us. And it's part of the not judging. It's part of, I know what you're going through. I can help a little bit. But obviously it's up to us. And because some people really put them on pedestals, don't they?
They do, and that's what I say. To me, it's not important. It's like, the guides, I look at myself at the end of the day and I go, right, I'm a telephone receiver. I communicate with the spirit world however I can. But I look at myself as a telephone receiver. I'm a conduit between, me, the spirit world, and the sitter, to go, right, I need to pass this message on and I need to get this out. Don't worry about your guides. People over worry about them, and they want pictures of them. They want to know what they look like. You know, and when they're ready, they'll tell you, they'll show you things. They'll tell you about their life sometimes. But, you know, sometimes they don't. They just stand in the background. So I think we all have to be really quite mindful of this, if you know what I mean, and where it takes us or where it goes with it, put it that way.
Yeah, I mean, my usual experience with guides, certainly for my students, has been that sometimes they'll just get a feeling that they're there. They may not physically show themselves for years. And then it's just maybe a pair of eyes or, you know, an outline or something. And to me, as you've hinted, that's a good guide. They're not interested in themselves. There's no ego there. They're there to help you, you know. Yeah, it's one of those myths, I think. But I feel people are getting more educated. Do you feel that in dealing with us as mediums and their own experiences?
Yeah, I think they are. I think people, you know, we have to remember, don't we, that, you know, going back, you know, mediumship was illegal. It was classed as an element of witchcraft under the previous act, you know. The Witchcraft Act, you know, and it's only been recently, you know, and I'm talking probably in, I'm trying to think where we are, probably in like the last 30, 40 years, that people have started actually coming out and doing something about this. You know, we're always too afraid of it. And even now, you know, people are so petrified of admitting to it, acknowledging it, because of it affecting work-life balances, you know, career paths. You know, and I think we've got to be mindful of that. People are still afraid of it. They're frightened of coming out and admitting that they've had an experience because, you know, of what people will think, what people might say to them, what people, you know, might suggest to them. And I think, you know, people are opening up to it. You know, I'm certainly seeing a lot more people come into my workshops nowadays and weekend retreats and things. And, you know, people are getting more fascinated by it, you know, and if it wasn't for programs like Most Haunted over the years, you know, remembering, you know, Most Haunted when it first came out, people were absolutely thriving on it. You know, the ghost hunting market went wild. You know, it went absolutely wild for it. You know, and it's been good. You know, it's done a very good thing for our beliefs because it's actually brought it out into the open, and people are going, you know, there is something about this. You know, why is it that, if not, why is it that people come to ghost hunts, you know, and, you know, on droves of like 50, 60 people at a time to each event to go, right, you know, there's something here, you know, we believe there's something, we want to see proof, we want to see it proven that there's an element of, you know, paranormal phenomena out there, you know, and that's what we should be doing, you know, as mediums and as good paranormal investigators, is proving what we do is genuine and honest. And not only us, but anybody that's in our line of work, you know, and that goes to people who are into, I don't know, healing, alternative therapies, you know, we've got to be proven. And this is where I think I look at it now and think, you know, we've got to be professional out there. We've got to demonstrate that we are all clever people. We're very professional career people. We've had good career paths. And what we're trying to do is make a difference to somebody's life. And as I say, there's a very fine line between mediumship and counselling.
Yeah, we're just going to go into a break now, and we'll be straight back after this.
This is the voice of spirit, your connection to the other side.
To understand something spiritually, you must experience it. And in order to experience it, you have to experience it in your imagination.
Explore with us by calling 702-425-9230. That's 702-425-9230.
Give us a call now.
Worldwide callers use Skype name KCOR Radio.
Everything that now exists was once imagined. Therefore, everything that is going to exist must first be imagined.
Back with your guide to spirit, Leo Bonomo.
Leo Bonomo.
After these brief words from our sponsors.
Have you ever wanted to connect with your spiritual guides or celestial family? Join Joanna L. Ross on Universal Unity, New Earth Consciousness every Saturday morning at 10 a.m. Pacific, 1 p.m. Eastern. Let Joanna show you how to raise your vibrational frequency, activate your DNA, and merge with the fifth dimensional frequencies as we align with Source and our soul's blueprint as well as divine purpose. It's time for change and start the magical and mystical journey of the ascending human. Universal Unity, New Earth Consciousness, Saturdays at 10 a.m. Pacific Time and 1 p.m. Eastern, only on the KCOR Digital Radio Network.
Looking for a radio show like no other?
We need something brand new.
Then tune into the KCOR Digital Radio Network, Tuesdays at 6 p.m. Pacific, 9 p.m. Eastern, and get ready for The Quantum Shift. A great shift of consciousness is sweeping across the Earth. Are you ready for the dimensional shift?
It is amazing, is it not?
The Quantum Shift.
Hosted by Dr. Sam Muggsy, Kent Dunn, and Drake Bailey.
Be part of the fifth dimensional reality, where consciousness prevails and the universal law of one is the only true reality. The Quantum Shift. Live Tuesdays, 6 p.m. Pacific, 9 p.m. Eastern. Exclusively on the KCOR Digital Radio Network.
Hamilton was adopted from a rescue in 2008. I do not love him.
Hamilton the Pug's adoption story started at a shelter. Visit theshelterpetproject.org to find a pet near you. Brought to you by Maddie's Fund, the Humane Society of the United States, and the Ad Council.
Live for 3 hours every Saturday night. It's a show that engages the mind, makes you think, and maybe even challenge what you think you know. Hi, I'm Jeremy Scott of Into the Paranormal, where we talk about topics that are anything but mainstream, somewhere between abnormal and paranormal. Bring an open mind and join us for Into the Paranormal, live Saturdays at 6 p.m. Pacific, 9 p.m. Eastern on the KCOR Digital Radio Network.
KCOR Las Vegas.
All the time.
Of course I listen.
I listen all day. It's the best music.
KCOR, the new underground source for news, talk, and music at KCORradio.com. Tell your friends, email them, or Facebook them, or Twitter them.
Hey, are we done here? Because I'm losing my buzz.
Welcome back to the Voice of Spirit, your connection to the other side.
There's no accidents in this universe. We all show up here with a purpose. There's an intelligence that is a part of everything and everyone, and all of us are connected to it.
Connect with us on Twitter by using hashtag KCOR. Even better, join us live in our chat room at KCORradio.com. To get a free reading during the show, call 702-425-9230. That's 702-425-9230.
Give us a call now.
Worldwide callers, use Skype name KCOR Radio. And now, inspirational clairvoyant medium, psychic, and your connection to the spirit, the host of the Voice of Spirit, Leo Bonomo.
Hi, a very, very warm welcome back. We're having a chat with a lovely gentleman called Barrie John, great medium. As I mentioned at the start of the show, he's involved with lots of things, including this morning on Channel 5 Live, Most Haunted, etc. And he's also got a regular column in Chat It's Fate magazine. So if that's something that you're interested in and you want some answers to things, you can, of course, ring up tonight on that number just given. But we are here if you want to connect to us either through Facebook or in the chat room and ask questions. Most welcome to do so. So welcome back, Barrie. We were talking in the break, weren't we, about whether the world itself has become more spiritual, and sometimes people confuse that with again everything being light and fluffy and wonderful.
They do, yeah. I mean, it's a real tough one, isn't it? Because I agree with you. I think certainly people are now having their eyes opened up a little bit more, you know, and I mentioned earlier about programs like Most Haunted, for instance, opening people's eyes up, that, you know, we're finding a lot more people now are going to things like spiritualist churches, wanting to develop, wanting to learn, wanting to go on more, you know, courses, weekend retreats. And it's a big thing now, you know, and I think also this relates to people's everyday lives in a way, you know, where, you know, people are very stressed situations, job situations, family situations, and people want to get away from it a little bit. You know, they want to break. They almost, you know, they want to cry out a little bit and say, I need a bit of me time now. You know, and I think it's really, really important. You know, people are now becoming more sort of environmentally friendly, which for me, you know, again, I class that all as being part of the spiritual banner. You know, we're bothered about what's happening in society. We're bothered about what's going to be happening in 50 to 100 years' time. You know, people aren't burying their heads anymore. You know, and it's a shame really that, you know, when I look at our belief, you know, I always say to people, I'm a spiritual person. And, you know, I don't want it to be classed as a religion for me, because, you know, I think once you start banding something as a religion, people then start running the opposite way. And I've seen this, you know, I support quite a few churches, you know, locally. And my main church that I support is obviously my hometown. And, you know, as soon as we start saying to people, oh, come to the divine service, you know, all we do is, you know, we say a few prayers, we sing a few hymns, and they go, oh, no, I'm not into church or anything. But, you know, if you said to them, oh, I'm doing a mediumship demonstration, it's like, yeah, I'll come along to it.
Absolutely.
You know, and, you know, we've got to change people's mindsets a little bit, that, you know, what we do, you know, when we're doing a demonstration, we don't walk in, turn off all the lights, and suddenly things start flying around the room. That's a totally different seance condition. You know, and I mean, I've sat for, I sit for physical now. You know, we've got a great group that I sit for physical for. You know, and I love physical mediumship. You know, it's the one, it's everything that I ever wanted it to be and what I'm looking for in mediumship. And I've been sitting for physical now for just over 12 months. And, you know, we've had some fantastic things already happen in our circle. You know, we have voices, we have, you know, knocks, bangs and raps and taps, whatever you want to call them. We've had a hand merge in the middle of the circle, you know, out of pure light, pure energy, you know, and things like that. You know, the group become very aware that when I've gone into an altered state, that suddenly they become aware of presence happening around the cabinet or around me. You know, and I think that's really, really significant that people start seeing more of this. You know, it's when we get to the point of material mediumship, you know, things actually happening, that then we can start saying, you know what, there's something else. And I mean, I always joke with people, and I always say, just think one day, you know, who knows, the spirit world might end up with a mobile phone, you know, and I think, the way that technology is going now, people are clearly seeing that there are other things that are happening. You know, we're getting more proof of life after death. People are talking more about their experiences. They're more open about it. You know, and this follows on from what we were saying just before the break, where, you know, people, we just need people to come out a little bit more, you know, and go, you know what, there must be something in this, because why is it that so many people are going to mediums? Why is it that so many people are going to these events? And, you know, you can't say that, you know, everybody's just going out of fascination. People are walking away from these events with something of an element of proof in whichever way that is. You know, and we've got to remember that, haven't we? You know, we have to remember that people are coming to us to prove life after death. And that's ultimately mine and yours aim, is to prove life after death.
It has to be evidential. I know I was told many years ago that the telephone, the initial idea for the telephone and television came from spirit. And so the ways and means in a science sense were given so that we could produce these objects. But of course, man, being man, has suddenly thought, TV, we can make something of this. So I know that's been altered, and I'm sure you've heard of the skull experiment, Robin Foy and wife, and Edison came through to produce evidence, his personal signature, other bits and pieces, some formulas and different things that come through. And so, and this is where we get this idea of white noise and how we set that up. It's because it was originally set up that way. There was a medium, I can never remember her name, and she works in Mexico. And what she does is, she's a physical medium, but the way it works through her is people ring her. She's then got a really old phone, and she turns the hearing part to the speaking part, and they get messages direct from spirit.
Fantastic.
And she was really well known. There's another Italian medium. Again, for some reason, his name escapes me, and he used an old tube radio, and he was tested many times. They took him to a Radio Shack, and they unplugged it. They eventually took all the valves out, but you could still hear voices, So I know that the basics of the communication we have today were inspired by spirit. So I've no doubt that at some point in the future, that kind of thing will happen. It will be fairly common. I think one of the reasons that we also are more aware now, I think as we've become more spiritual, people have got in contact with or practiced shamanism as well. Very close to the earth. The Druids did the same thing, the Celts, etc. And I think that is one way that spirit is inspiring us to say, look, you've only got this earth and you're poisoning it. So I think that's it's very true. I've said many times as well, because people say to me, are you a spiritualist? And they're quite shocked when I say no. I would hope I'm spiritual, but I have the same feelings as you about, when you make something a religion, you give it energy and then you make rules, which has been the downfall.
The problem is, as soon as you start, people will come to me and they go, oh, you must be religious.
Yeah.
Well, why do you assume I'm religious? My mum was a devout Catholic. My dad was Church of England. I was baptised Church of England when I was about 21, for family reasons, really, because I wanted to be godfather to my two nieces. And the church wouldn't allow me because I wasn't christened or in any way. But, when I went into the Church of England, it didn't give me what I wanted. It didn't fulfill me. And trust me, I had many conversations with the vicar at the time about the way that I worked, what I was getting, how I worked as a person, and it was almost like, oh, well, you can't do that. You can't believe in that. And it's like, well, why not? Because a lot of things are very similar, what we all do, when in times of need, we all pray or we speak to a greater source, whatever way you wish to say it. And we have to be mindful of that, that we all somehow have a greater source that we believe in. For me, I believe in the spirit world, and I know that if I'm sat here now and going, right, Mr. Spirit World, come and talk to us, that they'll come along and off we go, and that's the way that I tend to work with them. So, I think we have to be really careful because, the way that we work, we want to be spiritual, but what we don't want to do is make everybody run a mile and think, actually, we're going into like, I don't know, almost like some sort of a cult phase or some sort of heavily religious phase. And it's not like that. The way that I do it, I say to people, any one of my talks, now go out there and make a difference. That's all of us can do it. And there's a classic old phrase, isn't there, about, when you smile and somebody sees you, do they smile back? Well, yes, they do, because it almost becomes infectious. But if you go out there and you're, as I always say, things like, your chin's hanging on the floor or dragging on the floor and you're really unhappy, you're not happy about life. Well, people see that and it almost goes, that's not what we want. We don't want that sort of people around us. So it's a little bit like, the classic phrase of like attracts like, isn't it?
Absolutely.
Where you go out there and be positive, you get positive back. You go out there and be negative, you get negative back. So, it's common sense, a lot of it is. It really is.
I was having an exchange with Victor Zammit not so long ago, and he was trying to track down something in the book, and it turned out to be one of Arthur Finley's books, although I haven't tracked down which one at the moment. And basically, a few hundred years after Christ, there were mediums and the church were very close, because essentially that's what Christ taught. What he taught was as close to spiritualism and certainly the Cathars as we're going to get in modern day. And so there were many mediums and priests. And what the church found was that the people were more attracted to the mediums than the priests. So they basically reversed that and said, that's it, we're going to, I suppose, ban them in a sense. That's why religion centres, certainly the Catholic, because I was brought up Catholic. What the Catholic religion is we don't talk to saints, and you don't talk to people of our kind because it's devil worship. It's connected to this, and they put a complete stop to it. But as I say, life is stranger than fiction,
And that's an interesting fact, because as I said to you, my mum's family were devout Catholics, but the priest used to sit with them in seances. I also can tell you stories about where they used to do physical mediumship, they used to do table levitation, they used to report objects, and this was a devout Catholic family. There's some classic stories of it, and you're absolutely right. Let's go back. Mediumship's nothing new. People through ages, through years, Mayans, the Egyptians, the Romans, all had somebody who was some sort of I don't want to say medium, but some sort of a soothsayer or somebody that could tell them things or confirm that things were right. And this is nothing new. All that we've done is we brought it out into the open. It's no different to people who think Ouija boards is a modern invention. Well, no, it's not. It's been around for thousands and thousands of years. There was always a different vision or interpretation of it, and I always shock people when I go, did you realise it was still sold in Toys R Us recently, which it was, as a toy, and people don't realise that, this is nothing new, what we all do, all that we've done, is we've brought it into modern society, and people are seeing this now. They're going, what, this is interesting. This is really fascinating what you're doing, because we know that, what you're trying to do is prove to people that there's something else. And I think it's all educational, isn't it? It's a matter of education. And I think the more that we all can work with universities, I've got really good friends in Northampton University, parapsychologists. I did some work with Chris French down at London University, and all these sort of people, we need to be working with them, not intimidating them and humiliating them. We need to be working with them to go, right, guys, please help us to prove what we do and that there is something in what we do. You know, and that's what we should be doing, because that is the only way of society is going to accept what we do. And, jumping back to what you were saying about Christ, remember, in the Bible, it stated that Christ was a healer, he cured people. Well, okay, what do we say that was then? Was that an element of spiritual healing? And, I get into lots of debates about this. And, remember that the Bible's been rewritten numerous times. The best ones were the Romans, who totally wrote it to what they wanted it to be or wanted it to say. We always have to be mindful of this, be mindful that, a lot of things, and this is my words, I don't want anybody writing in now and complaining to me, but, these are my thoughts. How do we know that hasn't been rewritten so many times that actually it doesn't actually reflect what was there in the first case?
Well, I've mentioned this kind of thing on the show many times, because initially it was put together around 60 years after his passing. And we all know what Chinese whispers mean.
Exactly.
there was also in the Sea Scrolls, there were around 130 Gospels. Most of them were written by women. And that wasn't allowed. It was a male-dominated society. So there was one or two that got through. But of course, it was written in the language of the day, according to the laws of the day. You know, diet played a part. People weren't eating they weren't mixing as much food. So it was fish on Friday, get the vitamins, you know. And I think the latest edition, which was the King James edition, there were over 15,000 mistakes and omissions. And again, it was written to suit the time. So it has changed an awful lot. I was quite lucky, really, because I saw Spirit since I was 2. And so although I was taken to the church, I knew what Spirit were telling me, and I could see what the priests were telling me, and some of it kind of made sense in a small way, but the rest of it was, this is just not right, even at that early age.
Yeah, and I think one of the things that we need to remember, you know, and this is one of the things that was taught to all of us in our early days of spiritualists or being spiritual people, is actually the belief accepted every religion. You know, everybody was welcome into the realms of spirituality. It didn't matter what you believed in. You know, we wanted everybody to come along. You know, we wanted people to come and talk to us. We wanted people to come and, I don't want to say join the clan, but be part of what we do. You know, and that's what we must always remember. You know, we never had a branding on things. And I do agree with you in terms of, you know, the way that probably the view of mediums changed, because, you know, people wanted people into the church, they wanted money into the church, and you know, this is where for me things get very complicated. I mean, people, you know, we always get the classic question. People go, "Oh, have you had anything evil through in a message before?" And I always go, "What do you mean by evil?" Because, you know I've got family members who aren't, I'm not saying aren't nice, but are people that have done wrong. But do I class them as evil? Certainly not. You know, I go, right, I know you've not been good in your life. I know you've made mistakes, but what have you learned now being over the other side? And a lot of them will come back and go, do you know what? We've learned a lesson now. We know what we did wrong. But do I class them as evil? Certainly not. And I think evil is a really, really hard word.
It's an emotive word, isn't it? Yeah.
It is. And, you know, between us and America, we look at things very differently because, you know, any sort of show I do in America, any sort of TV program you watch in America, majority of it is all about demons and demonic. If there's a haunting, it's a demon and it's demonic. You know, hand on heart, for me, I don't think I've actually ever watched a show in America, you know, apart from like a couple of the mediumship shows, but anything paranormal is always something to do with negative or evil.
Yeah, and I think part of that is it goes back to our love of horror films, needing to be frightened, and I think we've got used to that's the stimulation. And there are some wonderful programs with angels and things. There's is it Romna Downey? I can't think. It's an American program.
Yes.
So there are, you know, Highway to Heaven, because I know that gentleman there. I can't think of his name. Wonderfully spiritual guy. Wonderful.
But you know, everybody has a belief of some kind, don't they? You know, I mean, I know people who believe in angels, work with angels. I know people that work with with the spirit world. You know, and it's all about what people believe in. But you know what? Whatever comfort you get, go with it. You know, go with it. But you know, there are so many views out there. I mean, I remember people coming to me and going, "Oh, well, you know, my father committed suicide. I've been told he'll never come through in a reading." Well, why not? Because all he's done for me is he's gone to the spirit world, you know. And I mean, somebody was talking to me the other day about they've read a book recently where this guy died and went to hell, and he come back with proof of it. And I'm thinking, really? You know, I'm sorry, you know, I've never I've never communicated with anybody from downstairs, if that makes sense. I've never, they've never come through in a reading. I've never stood there on stage and said, this is what I've got. This is coming from downstairs. For me, it's never been proven. And I think people's imaginations in what we do get so carried away.
Yeah. And I think personally that's religion's fault, because religions, it's all about control. And of course, if they say, well, you give us money, you support us, you do this, give us your pennies, you'll go to heaven. And if you don't like what we do, you're going to go to hell.
Exactly.
And that's, that's where, that's why I think there's so much conflict in this world. There's more people died in the name of love and peace than any of the world wars or anything. It's a crying shame.
Yeah, and we have to remember that certain beliefs have created wars. A lot of it started it off. I'm not saying all of it, but that's what it's generated. And you know what? My view is, let people live. Let us enjoy our life. Let us go out there and think. We're going to make a difference today. We want to be on the good side, not the bad side of things.
Absolutely. Before we go into the break, I'm just going to sort of recount. It's a lovely little story. I was sitting in my local church when I lived in East London, and I wasn't demonstrating. I just thought I'd go along, as you do sometimes. And I got this impulse to walk outside, and I saw this lady there, and she was peering in the windows and that, and I said, are you going in? Oh, no, wouldn't go in. And we got chatting, and I kind of edged her more towards the door, and she looked in, and what she was expecting was broomsticks, being very dark. And then she suddenly realised, and she said, oh, it's all quite normal, really, isn't it?
Whatever normal can be, whatever normal can be,
yeah. So we're just going to go into a break now, and we'll be straight back after this. So if you want to call in, the number is 702-425-9230. So if you've got a question for Barry, fantastic. Or you want to submit a question on Facebook or chat, do call in.
You've been listening to Leo Bonomo. The host of The Voice of Spirit. Live every Thursday, 11 a.m. Pacific, 2 p.m. Eastern. Exclusively on the KCOR Digital Radio Network. For more information on the show, guests, and host of The Voice of Spirit, or to book a private reading, please visit leo-bonomo.com. That's leo-bonomo.com. Your connection to the other side is just a phone call away. The Voice of Spirit.
It is amazing, is it not?
This is KCOR Las Vegas, home of the Digital Radio Network, broadcasting from a shack just south of Area 51. Wait, that doesn't exist. This is the KCOR Digital Radio Network. Now for the news.
In the deep recesses of one's mind, there is a voice, a guiding light through the darkness, a connection to the other side.
You're ready to wake up, you're going to wake up. And if you're not ready, you're going to stay pretending that you're just a poor little me.
Pathway to spiritual that echoes with enlightenment. The Voice of Spirit.
The Voice of Spirit.
You are a function of this total galaxy, bounded by the Milky Way, and that furthermore, this galaxy is a function of all other galaxies.
Your journey starts here and now. With your host and connection to Spirit, Leo Bonomo.
Hi, warm welcome back for the third segment. Talking to a lovely gentleman, Barrie John, great medium. And one of the things that Barrie supports, he supports a lot of things, a lot of charities. And he's doing a mediumship demonstration on the 12th, and it's for CHET, which is Childhood Eye Cancer Trust, and that's at Bestwood Village Community Centre. And if you want tickets or you want to inquire about that, you can contact a lady called Michelle, and it'll have to be, if you're phoning from the States, if you want to donate something, I'm sure they can arrange to take a donation. But this is in England, so I'll give the English version. And it's 07528 505 187. So if you're in this country, and especially if you're in the southeast of England, then do call. So tell us a little more about that, Barry.
Yeah, I mean, as I say, I support many charities, and that's just one of them. And, Michelle approached me, a few months ago, really, and asked me if I'd help out with a charity event. And so we've come up with basically a mediumship night. And what we're also doing on the back of that is we've said basically there's a poster what they've got up, and that if anybody books a private reading, we'll also donate £5 per reading to the charity as well. So, it's just my way of giving something back. I support, as I say, other charities locally. I mean, one of them being a charity called Hug, which is called Help Us Grieve. And that's for families that have miscarried children and lost children, and it's all about helping people grieve, and we're doing charity work with them as well. We've just done some outdoor theatre work with them and cinema work. Showing movies, etc. So, we get into a lot of things, but, charities hold a major passion in my heart because, it's my way of giving something back, and especially, in terms of certain charities involving, individuals, children, and also animals as well, which is good.
Fantastic. Any other charities that you've got that you can talk about at the moment? Because I know we're going through. I've just taken off your site up to the 28th of this month. But are there any next month that you want to highlight?
Yeah, I mean, we've got. I think it's in November. We've got breast cancer. What we're doing a charity event for as well. So there is literally lots and lots of charities coming up what we're supporting again. So I think breast cancer's in November, rings a bell. As I say, Hug, we're always working with Hugs throughout the whole of our year, really. And again, if anybody books a reading through Hug, they get £5 donated to the charity. So it's all about giving something back. But the charity list changes. I mean, we've worked with Alzheimer's, dementia. We'll be doing the dementia walk again in October, which is with our local radio station because I support them. So we'll be doing the dementia walk with the radio station. So, if you see us, give us a shout out. I'll be there with them, and you can't miss me. I'm a tour guy, so come and say hello, come and have a picture taken if you want, or get an autograph. But by all means, anything that I can help with, get in touch with us. That'd be my only comment.
That'd be fantastic. And the website is www.barriejohn, that's BarrieJohn.com. So if you want to look Barry up, then do that. And of course, you can listen to this on archive and download it. If you do have any questions or anyone wants to call in, then do so. And it's 072 425 9230 or submit by chat or Facebook, any questions you might have, and we can talk about those. What's one of the most either influential, interesting, or life-changing experiences you've had in connection with mediumship?
Ooh, blimey, you know what there are.
There's many, yeah.
There's so many. I mean, goodness me, you put me on the spot. I mean, certainly in terms of paranormal events, there are just numerous experiences that I could talk to you about where something's happened to me, where something's happened to me in old buildings, and, trust me, I'm a massive believer in the afterlife, as you can imagine, and in paranormal activity, because I've seen things happen that I can't explain, and I think that's really, really important that with any sort of paranormal phenomena, it needs to be something that none of us can explain, whether that be, I was liken it to things like, that is there a window open? Is there a door open that could create something? And if there isn't, so brilliant, we've found some means of a paranormal activity. But, you know, I mean, it goes way beyond that because, I mean, you know, the experience of sitting in physical, the experience of sitting for people in physical experience as well is amazing. You know, the things that I've seen happen, you know, psychic trumpets, you know, going, you know, 15, 20 foot up in the air, you know, drums being played, you know, with nobody near them and all these sort of things. But I think in terms of my mediumship, you know, yeah, I do have things that I remember, you know, and you know, I have certain stories that I remember, you know, some funny, some not, where, you know, people, you know, you give them a reading and afterwards, you know, you go, is there anything else? And they'll go, yeah, I just want to hear from my dog in the spirit world. And you think, well, how do I do that one? You know, that'll be a first for me because I've never been able to talk wolf language, you know. And I think there is things, you know, where sometimes, you know, people want the unexpected in a reading. You know, they'll go, you know, well, if you've got my mum, tell me her name. Well, if your mum's given you enough information and proved to you that she knows stuff about you, why do you need to know her name? And it's almost people put you on the spot, and as mediums, they always put us on the spot. They almost want us to give, you know, the impossible. Let me say that, you know, and I think that's really, really important that we, you know, we remember that we can only give what we get, you know, and I mean, you know, in terms of filming, you know, there has been so much that I've done in filming. You know, I've made some great friends, you know, people like Shane Ward, you know, people like Stevie Ritchie that I know very well, you know, Gabby Logan, you know, Phil and Holly off of This Morning, you know, people that, you know, Eamon and Ruth, you know, people that always keep in touch with us now, you know, and it's such an honour and a pleasure to be linked to those. And obviously, you know, the Most Haunted team who I still keep in touch with, you know, working with Colin. I mean, I'd known Colin Fry for 20 odd years. You know, me and Colin had been friends for years. And it was amazing, you know, it was phenomenal. You know, over the years, he kept saying, will you work with me? Will you work with me? And I kept going, no, Colin, I won't. No, Colin, you know, and in the end, when he was ill, you know, it's a long story, but Colin set me up really. You know, he always used to say, if I'm in your area, will you come to a show? And I used to go, yeah, of course I will. So he always used to text me and he'd say, right, are you coming tonight? And he'd go, yeah, we're coming. Don't worry. You know, I'll see you there. And I remember once he rang me up before I'd left for a show very close to home in Retford. And he said, oh, are you coming tonight? I said, yeah, I am. Why? He said, oh, I'm really excited about seeing you tonight. And I'm thinking, okay, he's got a plan here. And I remember, you know, when I got there, you know, the instruction basically, you know, at the ticket box where we had to collect a ticket from was tell Barry to come straight to the dressing room. And as I went to the dressing room, his first comment to me was, so which half are you doing, the first or second? You know, and you know, I thought, thanks. You know, I'm not saying in the words I said to Colin. Yeah, I'm not saying in the words I said to Colin, but it was more or less, cheers, Colin, thanks so much. You know, and then, you know, that was it really. And then obviously that was the time when he started telling me about, you know, he wasn't well and that he was having tests. Then he invited me out to Benidorm with him and Derek, you know, and I went out there and obviously, you know, I unfortunately got the inevitable news, you know, and from that point, I supported him. You know, I did as much as I could because, you know, Colin got very ill very quick. You know, his stomach cancer took hold of him. It then spread to the lungs. You know, and it was hard for him. It really was hard for him, you know. And then it was on, I think it was the 25th of August, rings a bell now, actually. It was only the 3-year anniversary a couple of weeks ago. You know, and it was devastating news. I've still got the text that Colin sent to me literally days before he died, where, you know, he was thanking me for his friendship, or for my friendship, you know, and it's a really meaningful message that I've got, you know, but me and Colin had a great relationship, you know, as friends. And, you know, we used to, pardon the expression, curse and swear at each other. And, you know, he'd ring me up and say, who's upset you now? And, you know, and you know, Colin was tremendous. You know, he was a tremendous influence. But so is Derek and, you know, obviously Gwen, who I'm very close to as well. So, you know, I know a lot of people in the industry from being where I am, and people who are always there if I want a bit of advice, I'll say, you know, or a bit of support in a way. You know, and they're always there in the background. And I think that's what we've got to remember is, you know, it's nice that we all seem to interlink still behind the scenes. And I'll say, you know, a lot of the genuine ones still interlink behind the scenes, put it that way.
Yeah. Do you find there are more celebrities now that are willing to talk about this? Because if you go back years ago, you talk about crooks and people like that.
Yeah.
It was a career-ending move, wasn't it? To say, I think there's something else, or I've had a reading, or I believe. It was life-ending in some cases.
It was. I mean, gosh, I remember as a child, watching programs with Doris Stokes on, and I used to be mesmerized by Doris Stokes, the things that she said. But you know what? Even Doris, they tried to bring down. They even tried to destroy her, and everybody that's, I don't want to say made a name for themselves, but that's gone out there to do something. They've tried to destroy. They've tried to bring down. They've tried to say, it's not real. It's not real. But yet, well, if it's not real, why is the information so provable? Or, why is it that it's there? It's all them sort of things that we've got to remember.
Yeah. One of the things that gets me is, people like James Randi, they say, well, they're in it for the money. They're doing this, they're doing that. James Randi, to be a skeptic, was getting paid around $100,000 a year, far more than many mediums.
Yeah, exactly. And it's things like that we've got to remember. All these people, have made money in some way, either off the back of it or from it, from us, from having a go at us all. And they have, but, it'll never change. That's the thing. Until we can get it proven and scientifically proven, it'll never change.
Yeah. Well, I've heard about some fantastic evidence in all different ways, and I think some came through the Skoll experiment. I'm not sure whether this one has, but what Spirit wanted to do one time was to they put their hand in hot wax, and so they produced this hand, dematerialized it, so you had the complete hand there. So there's only one way really that you can do that without breaking it, of course. And I can't remember who came through, but he was a criminal, and they took the fingertips off and they looked at the fingerprints, and that guy had been fingerprinted.
Yeah.
Fantastic evidence. I mean, that would get you convicted of murder. In court.
But I remember, Colin had wax molds of hands from his physical circle. There was lots of things that have been produced over the years. And if you go to Stansted, you go in the museum at Stansted, and there's lots of things that really, really cannot be mistaken as provable evidence anymore. And we have to remember that. We really do.
Yeah. One of the things is some of the voice recordings through Leslie Flint.
Yeah.
And again, they've run them through voice recognition. People that we've obviously heard of, like Churchill and that. And they've run them through voice recognition, and it, again, 99.9% proven. And and again, in court, that would get you convicted, but it doesn't seem to be good enough for some skeptics. I do have the feeling that with skeptics, there's a mental block there, whether it's religious based or something else. There's a fear that if this is true, I've got a problem. And I'm not saying they're bad or anything like that, but I do get the feel there's that mental block there. I'm just not having it. I had an interesting exchange with a skeptic once via email on a really old blog years ago, and I'd found something that he'd said, and he'd had a near-death experience, and he basically said, I've had a near-death experience. I've been there. It was darkness. It was a void. That was it. That's the proof. And I emailed him and I said, I do need to ask, if that was it, how were you aware of darkness and nothingness. And I didn't get a reply. And I hope in a nice way it created that doubt to think, must be something in it. But again, I think we attract those conditions. And his idea of dying was blackness and nothingness, and that's kind of where he found himself. But he couldn't answer why he was aware of that, because you know, by their token, if you're dead, you're dead. So interesting stuff.
And it's a very small world, that, isn't it? You know, very small, just to think, you know, when you're dead, you're dead. Because, you know, I certainly don't want to think that.
No.
You know, I want to think that actually there's something else, or there's something more to come in life, you know, not just, you know, when the door closes, it closes and that's it, nothing else happens anymore.
I think intrinsically we know, because even as cavemen, you know, for me, the oldest religion was either shamanism or Wicca, witchcraft, because we understood the energies, and we understood that if we asked for certain things or we tried to manifest, they tended to happen. And I think that's when most of it's grown. So intrinsically, we know there's something. I think if you add up all the people that believe in life after death, whether it's through mediumship or religion, you know, there's 8 billion of us here. There must be 6 billion of us that believe in something, even if it varies.
Well, and that's what we've got to remember, haven't we? We've got to remember that there's a lot of provable information that's still out there that we all can still relate to, you know, and that's what we've got to remember.
I think we'll get round to it. You know, my guide said quite some years ago that this place, Earth, in 20 or 30 years will be completely different, you know, from a more open spiritual point of view. And
and I agree with that. And I think, you know, where we are now, people are more believable of what we're doing. You know, people are coming to us for more genuine reasons, can I say, really, rather than coming to us for fortune telling, which, you know, that's the one thing we want to get rid of, is that we're not fortune tellers. You know, the spirit world might give you something to look forward to, but just because they've given you something to look forward to, you know, it's not, for me, it's not fortune telling. You know, I don't sit there, you know, looking into the crystal ball going, oh, you know, there's a tall, dark, handsome man coming for somebody. You know, I actually sit there going, well, actually, you know, I've got your grandmother here, or your mother, or whoever it is, your father, or whatever link it is, and they're coming through because they want to give you proof of life after death.
Absolutely. And again, I think because people have very strange ideas, some of them, when they ring. Personally, I do not like the moniker psychic, because to me that does conjure up end of peer and that. But if you don't use it, you don't get work. It's as simple as that.
It is, because if you put, and we found this, you know, if you put that you're a medium or you're a clairvoyant, people then start asking the questions, going, oh, well, what does that mean then? What's the difference? You know, what does it mean if you're that then? So, you know, it is difficult. It's very confusing for people, because I think we overcomplicated it. And we do overcomplicate it.
I think we do. I think some of that, again, is down to skeptics saying, well, you know, it's Madame Zaza at the end of the pier. They're all frauds. And I think they successfully link the whole thing together. But there are very good psychics out there, and I'm not putting them down at all. But I think that's one of the success stories of psychics and that, of skeptics, is that they've kind of linked it together with something that's recognisable to most people. And, you know, so in that sense, I don't think we can get away from it at this time. I think it will change, though.
I think it will, and I think it will over time. You know, more people are, as we said earlier, turn into this spiritual market, you know, this spiritual belief. They certainly are.
And I think scientifically there's a lot more to back it up as well. The guy that invented, he used to work for IBM, and he was asked to develop some software for the MRI machines. And he realized there's something I'm sure you've heard of called live Aura video. And it's the same software, just a bit changed, as they use in the MRI. And what they found with the scanners, if they lifted them up over what the hospitals use, they can see the chakras, the aura, and everything else. And they don't like to admit it, because then people would perhaps, rightly or wrongly, start to gravitate towards healers. And there's obviously a place for surgery in modern medicine. But yeah, so that kind of developed. Have you ever used that kind of thing, Barry?
In terms of what? Looking at the chakras, or?
No readings. I did an experiment with a guy, and I was giving him a private message, a private reading, so there was no sound. But when you play back video, you know, you could see faces intruding on my aura, talking to me, and that. And I think you know, we should do more of that. I think it's great.
Well, you know, I mean, you know, I do a lot of transfiguration. You know, I love it. I love stuff like that, overshadowing. I love my physical mediumship. You know, I love all the provable information. You know, we do a lot of videos of it. I think even in terms of like aura photography, you know, there's a lot to be said about it, because clearly it's showing something.
Absolutely. And again, something provable. I mean, because you've got the Kirlian photography, haven't you, which is, I think, in that sense, what started it. Yeah. Right. We're just going to go into a break in about 30 seconds time. So if you have got, I know sometimes people are so fascinated by what people are talking about, they forget to ring in. So if you've got anyone who wants to call in, 702-425-9230, or you can get us in the chat room or on Facebook. So if you want to talk to Barry about any aspect of his life, his teaching, his physical mediumship, because lots of people are interested in that. Some people have not heard of it before. So any questions you've got, then do call in. And we will be back right after
this. This is the voice of spirit, your connection to the other side.
To understand something spiritually, you must experience it. And in order to experience it, you have to experience it in your imagination.
Explore with us by calling 702-425-9230. That's 702-425-9230.
Give us a call now.
Worldwide Callers use Skype name KCOR Radio.
Everything that now exists was once imagined. Therefore, everything that is going to exist must first be imagined.
Back with your guide to spirit, Leo Bonomo.
Leo Bonomo.
After these brief words from our sponsors.
Alien Deceptions, a suspenseful sci-fi romance thriller by Tina Marie, featuring the tantalizing Erica Jones and the mysterious Russell Hamilton. An out-of-this-world book of fiction based on years of document facts and files the government does not want you to know about, at least not yet. Alien Deceptions by Tina Marie. Available now at Amazon.com or get a signed copy at TinaMarieEntertainment.com. Get your copy now.
My savings are gone.
Okay, where were they last?
Here, right before I spent them on that vacation to Aruba.
Weird. Not weird. Not saving now means no money later. For free ways to save, go to feedthepig.org. This message brought to you by the American Institute of CPAs and the Ad Council.
Monday nights are about to become hauntingly good, as Reverend Sean Whittington possesses the airwaves with Vegas Supernatural. Tune in every Monday at 5 p.m. Pacific, 8 p.m. Eastern for Vegas Supernatural, exclusively on the KCOR Digital Radio Network. There's a war raging between good and evil. The question is, which side are you fighting on? Tune in Monday nights as Reverend Sean Whittington sets the new standard for paranormal radio with some of the most influential personalities in the world today. Vegas Supernatural, hosted by Reverend Sean Whittington. every Monday night at 5 p.m. Pacific, 8 p.m. Eastern, exclusively on the KCOR Digital Radio Network. The one show even the devil doesn't want you to hear.
Here's what happened on the last episode of Three Guys, No Ties.
Yes, sir. Did either one of you watch America's Got Talent?
No. When?
Yesterday.
No. Last week, but not this week.
They had this couple on, and they were quick change artists. And the girl's standing there in a dress, they pull it up and drop it, and she's got a different outfit on. And I know these people have to be witches.
Three Guys, No Ties. Wednesday nights, 7 to 9 Pacific, on the KCOR Digital Radio Network.
Live for 3 hours every Saturday night. It's a show that engages the mind, makes you think, and maybe even challenge what you think you know. Hi, I'm Jeremy Scott of Into the Paranormal, where we talk about topics that are anything but mainstream, somewhere between abnormal and paranormal. Bring an open mind and join us for Into the Paranormal, live Saturdays at 6 p.m. Pacific, 9 p.m. Eastern on the KCOR Digital Radio Network.
Welcome back to the Voice of Spirit, your connection to the other side.
There's no accidents in this universe. We all show up here with a purpose. There's an intelligence that is a part of everything and everyone, and all of us are connected to it.
Connect with us on Twitter by using hashtag KCOR. Even better, join us live in our chat room at kcorradio.com. To get a free reading during the show, call 702-425-9230. That's 702-425-9230.
Give us a call now.
Worldwide callers use Skype name KCOR Radio. And now, inspirational clairvoyant medium, psychic, and your connection to the spirit, the host of the Voice of Spirit, Leo Bonomo.
Hi, very, very warm welcome back. We're speaking to Barrie John, one of the UK's leading psychic mediums. Very well-known character. He's been on lots and lots of programmes, and if you want a kind of list of those, we had them at the start of the show, so listen in the archive. One of the things that we tend to enjoy very much and people also want to know about is not just going for a reading, but developing ourselves. So developing mediumship is a very important thing, isn't it?
Oh, massively, yeah. And, you know, it goes along with that, people being more open, doesn't it? You know, and
yeah.
I mean, I'm finding now people's fascination is immense, you know, in terms of what they want to look at, what they want to develop. And this year, you know, I've got workshops coming up from anything to developing your psychic abilities, to developing your mediumship, to working with tarot cards. I'm doing a lot of past life regression, altered states. You know, amazing. I love it. I really do. And I think, you know, the more that people develop, I think it makes a huge difference to us, because it shows people that actually, you know, everybody can do this, what we're doing. You know, there's an element of you need to get on and just learn it, I think.
Absolutely. And I think one of the ironies of this is that it is something we all have to varying degrees. Some are obviously more talented than others, but it is something we can all, it's getting back to our roots, and it's something we can all do. And in an ideal world, we'd all have this connection. And so people like you and I, as working mediums, would really need to exist. And I think it's quite ironic, but I think actually, you know, well, if we could get there, what a change we could, the world would make.
Oh, yeah, yeah. And, you know, I mean, I run, what is that I've got now? I've got 2 monthly groups that I run. You know, on average, we get 20 people to those every time we run it in a month, and that's good. Yeah. You know, that's a good number, you know. But then even at the workshops, you know, we get anywhere from 20 to 40 people. If I do a weekend retreat, it's 40 people. You know, people are really, really wanting to develop. They're wanting to find out more. They want to know where it's all going now and where they can go with it. And, you know, I think a lot of it is not only about mediumship, It's about people learning to understand and cope with everyday lives, such as work-related stress, family situations, difficulties at home. And it's that little bit of a getaway for people, isn't it? You know, it gives them something to get away from or to go away from, let's say.
Absolutely. And the thing is, once you start to develop and you sit regularly, it's a very infectious thing, you know, the meditative side of it. People just, I'm not saying they just come for the meditation, but the feeling of being close to spirit and connecting in that environment is very, very addictive. And again, it's something I think it's something we should allow ourselves. You know, have a hectic day at the office or whatever. Put away the phone, turn the TV off. Let's just connect. Let's just have time for ourselves. And it's something we don't do as a modern society. You know, I've been out to a pub or a restaurant, and you can see people on a date, and they're texting each other over the table.
I know.
It's a crying shame.
Yeah, and this is the trouble, isn't it? It's taken over lives now too much. You know, I visited Nottingham Trent University earlier today with some friends of mine, so I'm doing some work with them, and it was fascinating that, you know, I was talking to some of the lecturers and was in like some of the really big lecture theatres, which must see 400 or 500 people, and they were saying the problem is all you do is you see people on the mobiles or you see them, you know, on the laptops, and you can't control them all because there's just too many of them.
Yeah. I saw a debate on TV this week, and they were talking about banning or trying to ban mobiles in schools, and I thought actually not a bad idea, and someone suggested you know, blocking them, because you can take one, the kids have two, you know, and I thought actually that was a good idea. But then somebody also came up and says the problem is the phones, because they're mini computers, they're used for so many things that they can use in lessons anyway. You know, so it's a tough old decision, but I do think we've become very dependent on that. I think it's right what Andy Warhol said, you know, we'll all get 15 minutes of fame, but I think the problem is everybody wants it now, don't they? Well,
I mean, do. They do. Everybody wants it now, you know, and it's not easy. It really isn't. You know, I mean, I talk to people who, you know, they want to get somewhere, and I go, you know, you've just got to be in the right place at the right time. You know, it took me a long time. You know, I remember, you know, one of my first awards was Best Newcomer, and I said, this is great, but do you realise this is like probably 15 years too late for me because I've been working for that long, you know, and it was phenomenal, you know, and then I think it was Best Spiritual Male or something one year, and I'm saying, yeah, that's lovely, but again, I've been doing it for 20 years nearly. You know, so it took me a long time to get it.
Yeah, it's like that. You know, that myth of the band that's an overnight success, as you say.
Yeah.
You know, they've been working years for it. It's a strange world we live in. What's the part you enjoy most about teaching?
I think it's seeing the surprise on people's face when they actually make a connection or they get a connection or, you know, something makes sense for them. And that's the part that I love. I love seeing the faces because people, they really try and hold mediumship as almost like a gift. And I always say to them, it's not a gift, it's an ability that everybody can develop. It's just that some develop it quicker than others. And, you know, some of them come to my group going, oh, I've got no idea. I don't believe in it. I haven't got the faintest what I'm going to do. I've come along with my friend. And then you suddenly start getting them working and you see them linking in and you see the look on their face. And, you know, for us that work and that are mediums, we can see what's happening behind them. You know, you can see the energy coming in. You can see the spirit stood with them. And it's like, go with it. What have you got? You know, and I'm a very blunt teacher, that's what I will say, because I know that everybody can do it. And when people sit in front of me going, no, I've got nothing, I'm going, yes, you have. Yeah. You know, because I can tell, I can see it. But, you know, some of them look at it and go, oh, I don't want to say it because I'm going to look silly. Well, you know, I've been doing this for nearly 30 years. I look very silly then, put it that way, you know. And I think, you know, it really is making people realise that actually there's nothing to be afraid of. Just do it.
Yeah, I've been blessed with having some people that are sceptical join the group and then get something. And you can see the look in the. I mean, obviously we can see the energies and that, but you can see that look in the eyes, can't you? They kind of glaze over and they go, "This doesn't make sense.
Yeah,
this doesn't," and they try and rationalise it and they can't. And it's a life-changing moment for them. Because I think for them, it verifies things that they've put away years before as being silly, as imagination, and it suddenly falls into place. And it is a wonderful thing to see. What surprised you most from a student that has come in fresh, as it were, and you know, given evidence or something? What's the most memorable experience like that?
Goodness me, probably you know when people first connect with a loved one, you know, and they connect with a mum or a dad, and their emotions are just raw and high, because it's like, you know, you have to try and get them to that point of going, you know what, this isn't your imagination. This is happening. You know, this is something that's happening, and you finally realizing that you can do it too. Do you know? And I think things like that really, really do just make me beam with pride for them, and not from my perspective at all, but from their perspective in terms of what they do and what they get in, and you know, and I love it, honestly. My aim, whatever you want to call it, is it's just to help people develop, help people get to that point where they can seriously just sit back and go, do you know what? We know we've done it now. You know, we're aware that there's a link. We're aware of the spirit world. And I think also for people, it's, you know, they're so afraid to speak out because of what the friends will say, what somebody will say, what the husband, partner, whatever it is will say. You know, and I think it's getting them to that point to go, really doesn't matter. It really, really doesn't matter. You know, but you know, on the other hand, I have seen, you know, some mediums demonstrate up on platform and on stage, and I just think you're just not ready for it, because people push people out too early, you know, and that devastates me, because I know how nervous it is when you're up there and when you're trying to make it work. And the last thing you want to do is pushing somebody out when they're not ready, because all you do is you stunt the growth, in a way, I always call it, because they'll go, I'm never going up there again, because, you know what, I was terrible, I was shocking. And it's like, you know, get everybody to the point of being comfortable first, before you start going, well, you've got the gift, right, you can do this, right, you can deliver this. You know?
I think when you and I trained, you know, it was 5 or 6 years before you got anywhere near a platform as a fledgling. Now that doesn't seem to happen, does it?
Well, I mean, I was exceptionally lucky, because I always knew that I had a link. I always knew there was something. And, you know, when I started developing in, you know, not developing, but like sitting in the circle, because even though I got the ability when I was younger, I didn't know what to do with it. You know, and
everyone needs training, don't they?
Yeah, and when I started sitting in circles and that, you know, it was about late sort of 95 onwards, really, 95 onwards. And, you know, I was aware of, you know, not wanting to make a fool of myself a little bit. And, you know, I remember sitting there once and going, you know what, I'm just going to go with this. This is what I've got. This is the information. This is how it's working. This is what I'm going to say. And lo and behold, I remember everybody sat there thinking, oh, my God, you've just, where did that come from? And I said, I don't know, but I've always done it. I've always had that. And I think that's where, for me, it's fascinating, because, you know, it's always been there for me. And I don't class it as special. I don't class it as a gift. I just go, you know what, I know I've got it. That's it. You know, and when I'm working, you know, people look at you shocked, and I'll just go, I don't know where it comes from. It comes from somewhere, you know. I am nervous when I'm up there. I'm nervous when I'm working. I want it to work, you know. And I love that. You know, I love the energy. I love the nerves, because it makes me work harder in a way.
Yeah, absolutely.
It does totally. You know, so you know, it's people have just got to get up there and give it a try, and as I say, I watch mediums work sometimes, and I watch, trainee, apprentice mediums, whatever you wish to call them, fledglings. Yeah. And I think sometimes you just need a bit longer, But as I was saying, I was quite lucky because probably within a maximum of 6 months, of me starting to sit in the circle, I was up on platform demonstrating, and people were like, and I remember some of the knocks what I got from people, congregations from, no disrespect, older generations who were going, well, you've not been doing it long enough. You shouldn't be doing it yet. Well, I can still deliver a message, and deliver it very well.
Yeah. There's a friend of mine called, I'm sure you've heard of her, Marion Dampagines. And she was a very pretty blonde girl from Sweden, and she started demonstrating in the churches, and she's quite a physical medium as well. And what would happen when she was demonstrating, on occasions, like a vase of flowers would lift up and travel across the stage and get put down again. But when she first started, she was 20 something, and it was like, well, this is a little young blonde haired bimbo. She's got no right. And she was getting a lot of hassle from the church itself. You shouldn't be up there, because traditionally, well, I say traditionally, if you go back quite a few years, most of the mediums were approaching middle age or older. And I think people and churches, some of these churches that are quite egotistical as well, they've got that image, mediums are old. And if you're young like you were, it's like, you've got no right to be there. You haven't put in the time.
Well, I mean, you've got to remember, when I first started working as a medium, I was probably only early 20s. Even though prior to that, I'd done, I used to do readings for friends. I used to play around with tarot, the Ouija board, all those sort of things.
Yeah.
And, but for me, it was just a bit of fun before. It really was, until I thought, actually, I need to do something with this now because it's driving me insane. And, it's just, you just have to go with it. But, honestly, I fully understand what you said. I was put down, I was knocked down even by, media, by, some certain websites out there where people are going, oh, here's another one, look, another one just trying to ride on the bandwagon again. And you think, but you know what, you've got to get to the point. And, again, I had this conversation earlier today with somebody who was asking my advice. You've got to get to the point where you ignore what everybody else says, thinks, calls you, speaks about you, because you just have to think, I'm doing it for the right reasons. And I'm going out there because I enjoy what I do. That's what you got to remember.
I think that's so important because we are sensitive, it affects us a lot more. But you then have to grow quite a thick hide, don't you? And just say, well, not listening to it. And it is a fact. As you start to get known, as you start to do good work, your head's above the parapet. Skeptics, jealous mediums, all, as you say, the media, they all want to take pot shots. And it's a shame. I would love to see, I would love to have a room full of mediums sitting in circle and get a couple of skeptics in. So the power is overwhelming. And just get them to go through that. Because a lot of what they say is like, well, that could mean anything.
Yeah.
But I think for them to get a connection and know it's their mum, that would blow them away, I think.
Well, definitely. But people, I always say to people when they come in to any event with me, don't come in with any expectations. Yeah. Go with whatever comes. I can't guarantee what's going to come through, and I think that's what people have got to remember.
Yeah, I think what happens sometimes
we just don't know.
Yeah. Sorry, it just broke up a little there, so I didn't mean to interrupt you. I know sometimes you know, and I'm sure it's happened to you. I've had people come in and you say, you've got, I don't know, a cousin here, and it's no, I want to speak to my mum. And it's trying to explain we can't call them up. But they get a fixed idea, don't they, of what they want and what we should be delivering, and it interferes with the message, doesn't it?
Totally, yeah. I mean, people make it fit, don't they? I mean, we've all seen it at an event where we'll get what we call a message grabber, or somebody who just sits there and takes every message possible.
Yeah.
You know, and it's not easy, you know, it's very hard, you know, and you have to reassure them that as you're working, I know where I need to be. I know if this is the right link. You know, if this isn't the right link, then it isn't for you. Simple as that, you know. And that's what people have to remember, you know. Sometimes we just know.
Yeah. Yeah. I always ask for a sign of who I'm with. So sometimes in the audience, I'll get a light over their head, or I'll get, you know, the communicator standing beside them, pointing at them. You know, this is the one I'm with. Yeah. So I know, and I'm sure this has happened to you before as well. I was given a reading to a lady. She was right at the back of the hall, and kept saying no, 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 and her friend beside us going, "Yep, that's right. Yep, that's right." Because people have. They have different reasons for not wanting to be drawn attention to, or, you know, if mum's going to come through, she's going to tell me again I'm doing things wrong. I don't want to hear it.
Yeah.
You know, there's all that, isn't there?
Totally. And people are so afraid that suddenly, you know, we're gonna release all the family secrets.
Exactly.
You know, so it does fascinate me. It really does.
Yeah. I like to talk to people. Some mediums come in, don't they? And then they hide away in the medium's room and then they vanish. Yeah. And I always like to go and talk to people. And something that makes me laugh, and this happened years and years ago, I gave a message to this lady and I went down for a cup of tea and that. And then she came over and started chatting to me. And she went, "Oh, you're rather normal." And she meant it the right way. But it's people do have funny ideas. Very strange.
Well, they do because, you know, some of them put us on massive pedestals and go, "Oh, you know, you've got to do this, you've got to do that," and it's like, well, actually, we don't have to do any of that, you know.
Yeah. We're our own. Sorry.
No. I was just saying it can be difficult for all of us, you know. And I'm a bit like you. I like to meet people. You know, one of the things I've always wanted to be known as. Is just, you know, I want to be you know, I want to go out there and meet people, you know, that's what I've always wanted to do. And I want people to come and talk to me. You know, I don't want them to run a mile from me. I want them to come and talk to me.
Yeah, because one of the important things that we really agree on is that people should see this as normal. It's something everyone can do.
Definitely, yeah, definitely. I don't want anybody to think that what we do is special. You know, it's almost like we've developed it, we've worked with it for so long that it just happens now, you know. And when I'm talking to people and training them, you know, I always say, don't worry about things like opening and closing. Don't worry about grounding. You know, do the job that the spirit world want you to do. Because I believe for me, you know, if the spirit world want me to experience something, then it's happening for a reason. You know, I don't want to be bubbled up. I don't want to be wrapped up. I don't want to be protected. I want to go, actually, guys, you know, my gatekeepers, my guides, whoever's up there, you need to look after me tonight because I'm doing this work for you and I'm doing it to make a difference.
Yeah. I think it's a wonderful sentiment, and it's a wonderful sentiment to sort of finish on, and we've got a couple of minutes, so hopefully you've really enjoyed tonight's show. If you do want to have a reading with Barrie, then you can go through www.barriejohn, that's one word, and it's BARRIE, barriejohn.com, and you can send email inquiries to enquiries@barriejohn.com too, and just look at his site, get in contact if you're in this country, or alternatively if you're elsewhere and you want Barrie to come and demonstrate, or you know there's a psychic event that you want to invite him to, states, wherever it might be, just get in contact. It's been wonderful talking to you. A great privilege.
My pleasure. Thank you so much, Leo. And I hope we end up having a chat again soon.
Yeah, I'm sure we will. And strangely enough, we don't live that far from each other, do we?
Don't. No, probably about no more than an hour, maybe, something like that, I would have thought. So, it's an easy run, really. But yeah, definitely. But thank you so much. And thanks for everybody listening in. Follow us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. Get in touch with us. And, I do phone readings all over the world. So it doesn't matter where you are, really. I can still give you a reading.
Yeah, because again, that's something, just briefly before we close, I get people asking that and said, well, I want a face-to-face. And, I said, well, I live, Bedford. And they go, oh, that's too far. And I say, well, we do it by phone, by Skype. And they go, oh, does that work? Again, quite a strange mentality.
Yeah, it does, because it makes no difference for me where the person is, because I'm not really linking him to the person, I'm linking him to the spirit.
Exactly. Fantastic. It's been a real privilege. We will talk again, and listen into the show. God bless you. Take care.
You've been listening to Leo Bonomo. The host of The Voice of Spirit. Live every Thursday, 11 a.m. Pacific, 2 p.m. Eastern. Exclusively on the KCOR Digital Radio Network. For more information on the show, guests, and host of The Voice of Spirit, or to book a private reading, please visit leo-bonomo.com. That's leo-bonomo.com. Your connection to the other side is just a phone call away. The Voice of Spirit.
It is amazing, is it not?
This is KCOR Las Vegas, home of the Digital Radio Network, broadcasting from a shack just south of Area 51. Wait, that doesn't exist. This is the KCOR Digital Radio Network. Now for the news.